It's the grandson of right thought. Welcome to the School of Marvelous Light, little flock. When you have a child, you have to take this child through certain transitions of their life. All right, how you doing? For instance, a person has a child. At first, that child can't do anything. I mean, they have to do everything for the child. The child can't move. The child is extremely vulnerable. But as the child gets older, you have to take this child through transitions, like I said earlier. You got to walk before you can crawl. I mean, you got to crawl before you can walk. You got to walk before you can run. See that, little flock? Transitions. And you're patient with your child as you go through these transitions, because some children, they go through the transitions pretty easily. Others, they struggle. And it may not be that they can't do it or they struggle to do it. It's just that they struggle to have the desire to do it or the understanding as to why it's important that they do it. In other words, I'm getting along just good. Crawling. I'm getting along just fine crawling. Why do I need to learn this new way of traveling? What's the point of it? What's the purpose? You see what I mean? So they may cry when you get them to learn how to walk. They may scream and throw a tantrum when you get them to learn a new thing. But you're patient with them through it until they get it. And once they get it, then they're good. You see? Well, so it is with mankind and man. Whatever words I like to call, because some people are very, particular, mankind, human being, and they get all up in arms about these terms. But I know you guys understand what I mean when I say that. Humanity. Same thing with him. He has learned a way to procure the things that he needs for his life. That's crawling, in other words, for mankind. Thinking about what he will eat, thinking about what he will drink, and thinking about what he will put on. You see that? That's his crawling. That's his first mode of transportation until he transitions to the new or to the better, which is walking. You see it? Man is learning how to walk on his own now and not rely on anything or anybody to sustain his life. You see it? Like the newborn baby does. Can't do anything. It relies on a system. It relies on its mother and the system that the mother lives by. That's what the child relies on. You see it? But eventually, it's not going to rely on its mother anymore. Well, your mother was this world. See why you must be born again? You were born into this world. And when you were born into it, you were taught how to live or what was expected out of you as that child. You see it? And the normal thing you were taught was eating, drinking, what you will wear, what you will put on. You see it? And your life. You think about your life. You're considering it all the time when you're in the crawling state. But Abba is requiring all men to repent. In other words, to be born again and come into the new teaching. You see it? Each transition you could consider a form of being born again, because you're being trained in what's expected of you from scratch all over again. You were crawling, you were like, this is good enough. What's the point of me learning how to walk? This is doing me just good, just fine. Yeah, that is until you start walking. Then you see why your parent was teaching you how to do that all along, because it's much easier. As he said, my burden is easy and light. It's not hard. Once you get it, you see the benefits of it, you start to implement that into your life. That's your new mode of transportation. Well, that's called faith. Just like the child walking, they walk by faith. You see it? Well, same thing goes with us. We learned a way. We did that way, which was crawling. And now we're learning the new, which is how to walk, which is by faith. And faith requires no evidence. That's why it's the new way. That's why the old and the new are different, because the old doesn't require faith. You see it? It doesn't require you to walk. And that's why it says we walk by faith. That is how we are when we go through the transition. We know when our parent teaches us to do the new, we trust them and we believe them totally. So we go through the transition easier.
That's smart. I like that.
Thanks. So you see, we go through these transitions and we actually become a new child. We're not the same child that we were before we went through the transition. Ain't that easy to understand? We're better. We're more confident and we're stronger. Realizing, oh, that's what Abba wanted to do for us. I thought he was making me be put in a vulnerable position. I thought it was scary when he first told me to go walk. I thought it was weird when he put me on my feet and made me stand up. It was uncomfortable and strange. It was even scary a little bit, you know? But once you got used to it and you trusted your father, you trusted him, you knew he wasn't going to drop you, you knew he wasn't going to let you fall, so you fell into his arms and you gave your life up. You see what I mean? Giving your life up means you're not taking thought of whether you'll be okay. You know your father's thinking of that for you. Isn't it true, little flock? So it's easier for you to transition from crawling to walking, or in other words, from sight to faith, if you trust your father and give your life up and let him take care of you and take thought of these things for you. Isn't that what he was telling you all along? Yes, it was. But many people do not give their lives up. You see, they trust in crawling. They don't trust in the Father to teach them how to walk. They'd rather crawl. And that's going to stunt them and hinder them from growth. Mankind, that is, or humanity, whatever words you guys want to call it. That's going to stunt their growth. They're not going to be able to transition into the new life that's expected once you start walking. They won't be able to transition into it because they refuse to walk. So then we see that you walking is not about ability or not. It's about trust in the Father. That's why he said we walk by faith. We believe that what our Father is telling us, we can trust it. Just like when the Father says, let go of my hand, son. Stand up on your own. You don't have to hold on to me. I won't let you fall. If you start falling, I'll catch you. That's what Abba's saying to you when you start walking by faith. Isn't it easy to be understood? But how many kids get nervous, get to hanging on and shit, grabbing onto shit, won't let go of your jeans or hanging on to your leg? They just won't let go. And you have to be patient until they're ready to be brave enough to let go, faithful enough to let go, trusting you. Trust me, son. You don't have to be afraid. Just trust. And I'll take care of you. I'll make sure that nothing happens to you. I'll make sure that you won't fall. You see it? So you can give up your own ideas of what you're looking at, of what you're facing, because I'm your protector. How many of you do that with Abba? Well, that's what's required to please him. Just like your child. It's not going to please you if every time you ask your child to do something new, they just start crying and falling on the ground, screaming. Will that please you if your child has a tantrum every time you ask him to do something new? Obviously, it won't please you. So what will please you? If he does the thing you ask him to do, knowing that if he trips, falls, stumbles, he has a father there who will catch him. He knows it. And if he knows it, he's going to be confident. He's going to take more risks if he knows it. Ooh, did you hear that, little flock? I want you to hear that nice and good. Watch this, how this is going to connect like Legos. The scripture says something very interesting that a lot of people don't quite understand. He says, he who lacks faith, see, the man who can't walk yet, he just crawls, he eateth only herbs. But the man who has faith, believe he can eat all things. Now explain that to me, little flock. What did I tell you about a risk? See how it connects like Legos, what I just told you? So which one taking the bigger risk? The faithful or the faithless? Which one? Which one is pleasing to God? So how many of you knew the one who takes the risk is the one that's pleasing to God? How many people knew that? Not many. Let's keep it real. Not many at all. They don't understand that concept, because if they did, they'd live differently. They'd live according to liberty. All things are lawful to me, but not all things are expedient. So then it's best that I live with moderation. Now, does the scripture tell you that you should live with moderation, or does it not tell you that? What would you say? Isn't it easy to be understood? Moderation is key. Balance is key. You see that there? But people who lack faith don't believe that, because they don't believe the Father will catch them, the Father will lift them up and protect them. They don't believe that. Well, I'm telling you that it's true. Just like you're not going to let your child fall, are you? Even though they may think that you will, they may be looking all nervous, looking at you going, oh my God, oh God, don't let me go, Dad. Don't let my hand go. Don't let my hand go. But you let it go anyway. Why do you do that? To let him know that it's safe and okay, even though he doesn't think that it is. That's what faith is all about. Abba leading you to know that no matter where you are and what circumstance that you're in, he got you. Do you hear that? He got you. So then why don't you live like he got you? In other words, take a risk. Now, when people hear that, depending on how your heart is, it's going to determine how you hear what I just said. I don't care how you heard it. I care about the state of heart you got, which determines why you heard it the way you did. In other words, if you tell some kid, hey, do whatever you want to do, if he has a wicked hard heart, he's going to do a bunch of wicked ass evil shit. And then he's going to say, well, you told me I can do whatever I want to do, so what's the problem? You see that there, little flock? You see it? And what does Paul say about that? Do we have grace that sin may abound? Do we sin that grace may abound? You understand that? Same thing that I just said to you just now. Some people believe that God has given us this liberty and grace so that we can sin more. Well, that's up to them to believe that. Go on ahead and believe that if you want to. That ain't correct, but if you want to believe that, go ahead. You see it? Oh, you gave me grace so that I can continue to do whatever I want to do. That's what I was given liberty for. Fine, if that's what you think. But we who know the truth know that's not true. He didn't give us grace that sin may abound. You see? That's not what he gave us grace for. He gave us grace so that we could come back to the truth and the knowledge that we are loved. That's ultimately all you're doing. I don't know why the world thinks it's about something else. They think it's about your behavior and whether you were a good boy or not and whether you did the right thing or not. That's what they think. But it's really ultimately, do you believe you're loved or not? Because you can't hide how you will live if you believe you're loved. You will live different than somebody who lives in fear. What sets a man free from fear? Love does. So there's only two types of way that you can live, loving or fearful. Now, what puts the fear out? Perfect love does. So there's only one ingredient that you can put into your being that will push the fear that you had in there, which is the old man you were before you were born again, out. Why do you think you won't let go of your dad's pants leg? Because you're afraid. That's why. Because you don't trust him. That's why. Because you don't believe what he has told you. That's why. Isn't it true? Now, how do you think the Father feels that his son doesn't think that he's loved when the Father knows that he loves him? How do you think he'll feel when his son goes, I'm scared, I think I'll fall. But what do you think I am? What kind of father do you think I am, son, if I let you fall? You see what I'm saying? If I let you get hurt, wounded, maimed, if I let it happen to you, what kind of father do you think I am? But son, I am a protector. I am a provider. I am a lover. I am kind. I am long-suffering, and I am patient. So that's what I will exhibit toward you, my son. I believe all things for you. You see what it means about loving your child? I believe all things for you, so I believe you'll get this too. I don't doubt that you'll get this. I know that you will. But I'm willing to long suffer until you do, to prove that I love you. Because ultimately, it's not about you walking or crawling or flying or skipping or doing anything. It's about whether you know you're loved, because that's going to determine how you walk. It's one thing to just be damn walking, but it's one thing to walk with confidence, to walk boldly. And what did Abba tell us to do? See what I'm saying to you? The only way you can walk bold is to know your love. That's how. That's what causes your confidence to rise. Oh, wait a minute. If I stumble, he'll catch me. If I trip, he won't let me fall. So then why in the hell am I tripping about tripping? Y'all hear that? Why I'm tripping about whether I tripped and failed or not or messed up. And I go, oh man, I'm just a bad kid. My dad didn't love me anymore because I messed up right there. He told me to walk and I started crawling. Oh man, my dad didn't love me. Yes, he does. Nothing can separate you from the love of your Father. Do you know that? Well, I'm here to tell you that. Nothing can. So then why do you keep trying to say something can if nothing can? Who should we believe about things of life, children? Us as the children or the Father? Who should we listen to? Well, it's obvious the answer to that question, isn't it? So then why do we all lean into our own understandings concerning the thing then? Grandson be asking them hard-ass questions that pin you against the wall and make you give the right answer. I know, because I'm not interested in playing games with you and playing games with your soul. I don't think it's funny to do that. I think it's best that I care for your soul, that I genuinely tell you the truth so that you can benefit from it and you can be blessed. Instead of going along confused, not knowing what you're supposed to do, not knowing what walking is, not knowing the transitions of crawling to walking. What does it even mean for a man? If you don't know that, then when it comes, you won't expect it. Well, what did Christ say about the coming of the Son of Man? What did he say? I know. But how many people believe that? How many people believe it? Good question, huh? Well, like I said, going from this crawling to walking requires faith. That's what it requires, and no longer walking by sight. And if you know that, then the things you do will change throughout your day. And you'll do the things that are truly pleasing to the Father, and no longer things that are only pleasing to man. Things that only make sense to man. You see that? Pain don't make sense to man. Struggle don't make sense to man. Hardship don't make sense to him. And that's why he complains and cries when it comes. Because that doesn't make sense to a child. Why does this have to be hard? Why isn't it easy? You see it? Well, it is easy if you trust me. It's only hard when you try to do it on your own power. Now look at men's lives and tell me that's not the truth. That things get hard when they lean to their own understanding concerning something. You end up having regret when you went away from what Abba told you to do and when you went with your own understanding. That's when you experience regret, isn't it? Yeah. But when you listen to the Father and do what he has commanded of us and let his words be true and every man's words be a lie, then it frees you. You see it? It frees you to truly serve your Father correctly, to trust him, to believe that the things that he's told you are actually true. You can't say that you believe God and you believe that things he said is true if you don't do it. You can't just be a hearer of the word, but you must be a doer, like I was saying in my video yesterday. What good does it do you to hear the words and be able to quote them, but can't do them? Why do you think the word was given? So that we could just hear it and not do it? Well, why does the scripture say, be not only a hearer, but a doer? Damn, grandson, you don't let us get away out of this shit. We want to be able to do carnal things and escape this shit, just righteousness shit you're talking about. Well, you can, but the results ain't going to be the thing you want it to be. You want to escape righteousness but get a righteous result? You want to skip learning how to walk, but you want to be able to walk. And most people that can't walk think that they can. You can't walk if Abba hadn't taught you how. In other words, you can't have faith unless the Father has revealed what faith is and how to do it. Because most people talk about faith, but they don't know how to do it. They don't even know how to implement it or even teach what it is. You see that there? So when Abba has taught a child, he's taught that child because that child was humble and willing to learn from the Father and blindly trusted the Father's love for him. And y'all think that that's wrong to have blind trust. The only reason it's wrong is because y'all fuck each other over all the time. You use blind trust as a way to get over on people. You hear that shit? And don't y'all in the world? Don't you? Excuse me. Oh man, blind trust makes you weak. Well, it depends on who the hell you trust in. If you trust in man, then you did the opposite of what the Bible said. It said don't trust man. So what did you do? Oh, well, I trusted man. Well, why did you do that? If God told you not to, but instead put your trust in the Lord. Well, why didn't you do that? Yeah, Neanderthal. I don't speak that shit, sorry. Nor do I understand it. So you might want to start speaking a language I can understand. How about that? Like I'm speaking to all of you. Y'all think that y'all are doing something today that matters, when he told you it's vain what you're doing today. If it's not to keep his commandments and fear him, then it's vanity. And his commandments are things like, son, hold my hand. I'm going to help you walk now. Stand up. Don't worry. Those are his commands. How many times has your father told you don't worry? God, that is. Over and over in his word. The son confirms it. Don't worry. Be of good cheer. Just like you would tell your son when he's learning how to walk and you're teaching him. Don't worry, son. Don't fear. I got you. I'm standing right here. So there's no need of you being afraid. I'll kill a rock to protect you. Shit. I'll bite that rock in half. Y'all hear me today? The child may not know that and he may not believe that yet. But you show it to him. Then he'll learn to trust it. Then he'll fall right into your hands. You see that? Which is what David did with Abba. I'm going to fall into the hands of my father. I don't care what you guys are talking about. Ain't that what he said? That's what he said, little flock. So has it changed? No, it ain't changed. It's best to fall into his hands. But how many people do it? When they're facing the circumstance, they lean into their own understanding. They start calling their mama. They calling their aunties. They calling their sisters. They calling their brother. Hey, man, what should I do? Asking for advice and help. Instead of consulting and inquiring of Abba. Looking right up at their daddy saying, what you think I should do about this? Because the daddy going to tell you the truth. He going to tell you the loving thing. Okay? And before I end this message, talking about faith, I'll give you an example of what I mean. I was in Ohio and I was stranded. And I was 300 miles away from home. And I was stranded. I had no way home. I had no communication. I had no phone. I was just stranded out there. I had no money, nothing. And while I was sitting waiting to think about what to do, Abba spoke to me and he said, at noon, start walking that direction. And he showed me the direction to start walking. Remember, I told you, I don't know where I'm at. I don't know what's going on. I don't know any direction or anything. But he told me at noon, start walking that way. Now I did. So noon hit and I started walking that way. Did you guys know it wasn't even 5 minutes before a man named Mr. Wilson stopped on the side of the road and picked me up? I don't know if you guys can hear that. So what would have happened if I didn't start walking when he said walk? Would I have met Mr. Wilson? Would I have got that ride? Would I have got that good conversation that he gave me? Would I have got that? Well, what do you guys think? And that ain't all I got because I left at noon. I got a whole lot of blessings because I left at noon when he told me to. Now, what if I would have thought, well, what's the point of leaving at noon? What good that's going to do me? How that's going to benefit me? What if I start doing that? That means I don't trust my father and I don't believe him. But I didn't do that. I was actually relieved when I heard him tell me to walk at noon. I didn't know which way I was going, and I didn't know where I was going and how long it would take me to get to where I was going. But I remembered Abraham, who also didn't know that when Abba told him to go into a land of promise. Do you see it, little flock? Do you see how the hell Abba does his children and those who have faith? He'd be like, do this. If you do it, then you prove you have faith. If you don't do it and you doubt, well, then that's sin, isn't it? Faithless and perverse generation is what he called this generation. So how many have faith and will do what the Father says and get the blessing for doing what he says? How many will do it? Only a few will. So y'all be blessed today, little flock, and receive that message. Silouan Israel.